Today I'm going to be teaching you how to use Onshape for 3D printing projects. First, create an account. Next, sign in, and you'll see this page with all of your projects on it. To get started, go to Create and select Document. Now you can change the name of your project. This is what the page should look like initially before you start a project. First, you're going to click on Sketch, and you're going to select a plane out of the three you have available to you at the time you start the project. And you can select any different plane and change it at any time. When creating your object, I like to change the view of my plane, so as you saw, I clicked on front so that I just see the front plane. Now you can start adding objects such as a rectangle to start with. You can make it as big as you want because you can go back and dimension it later. You can also add circles, semicircles, anything you'd like. Next, I use this tool called Dimension and change what my lengths are to whatever the object needs to be. So I just changed the diameter of that circle to 2 inches, and I changed the width of this rectangle to be 4 inches. You can also use tools like tangent and coincident to change where the position of your object is. Coincident allows you to put two things together like 2 points without having to use dimensions at all. Since you've finished your object in 2D, click the check mark, and now you are able to extrude, which makes your object three-dimensional. Click on those 3 rectangles up at the top left corner and change how far you want to extrude your object. You are also able to add sketches to objects that you've already created, as I just did on the right side of this object that I have created. And again, I'm going to use the dimension tool to change how long everything is and where it's positioned in this rectangle. So right there, I just changed the dimension from one side of the big rectangle to my little sketch so that things are centered. Now, to create a triangle, the easiest way is to create a rectangle first and then add a line and erase the other lines using the scissors tool that's in the middle-ish of the page. And you can change angles as well, which I'll show you later. I'm just going to remove an object now by changing from add to remove and changing the depth so it goes all of the way through. Another useful tool is to be able to add planes onto the top of your sketches. This makes it easier for you to change the shape of your object if it's an irregular shape. You can also add sketches to the planes that you make. When you go to set dimensions on things such as this circle, be careful where you place the circle and where you're dimensioning to, because sometimes you may over-constrain it, which basically it'll show up as a red symbol, and a lot of little squares with objects will show up as to what you've already constrained. You can also use tools such as Loft and Sweep. In this case, I'm using Loft, and you take 2 surfaces or edges and put them together, and it will show basically an extrusion from that point. You can also change the dimensions, so you can work in millimeters or inches. You can change the decimal place surrounding. Another cool thing you can do is 2-finger click and drag around the world, and it'll rotate the object. You can click on any of the angles or faces on that cube in the right corner as well. And if you want to just shift the whole entire object to a different side, use Control and 2-finger click and drag. For making triangles, one of the best tips that I have is to make a rectangle first and then use a line to split it however you need. You can create like an equilateral triangle, whatever you want to create in terms of triangles. You can also use the dimensions tool to dimension angles like I am in this video currently. Here's an example of over-constraining where all of your dimensions and everything over-constrain each other. Basically, you have too many things going on and one of the lengths does not match the angles or placement of your other lines. In this example, I'm going to teach you how to use revolve, and you can start off by making any sort of shape that you want to revolve around an axis. In this example, I'm making a trapezoid kind of shape. I'm also going to add a circle to show you how you can use other tools, such as the scissors up in the middle of the page to delete lines and make the shape of the object something different. Now I'm going to curve the edges by using a fillet, and you can change the radius of those as well. It just makes everything a little bit smoother so you don't have sharp lines when you go to print your object. Now I'm going to take the object that I created and revolve it around its own axis, and you have this like plunger kind of shape. Looks like a plug that you could use. You can also change the degree of rotation, so in this video I'm showing that this object has been rotated 90 degrees and then I just changed it back to full. You can also use many of the tools above, such as the linear pattern, hole, and mirror. You also have the fillet and chamfer up there. Those are just useful tools that you can use after you've created a sketch, along with while you're creating a sketch. For example, I created a circle in that case and clicked on the mirror object. I selected the middle line as what I would like to mirror it over, and now I can extrude both the circles and they're exactly the same distance from the center line. While extruding an object, there is also a very helpful tool where you change it from blind to symmetric, so the dimensions of the extrusion are being shared front and back instead of just one direction, as you can see there. As previously discussed, you can chamfer the edges of anything you want. In this case, I am chamfering the bottom of this object, and you can either do one distance or have different distances. You can also use a fillet to curve the edge of an object. Finally, I'm going to teach you how to do an orthographic sketch or drawing. You're going to right click on the part, go up to create drawing, click for views, and then your drawing will load. You have the dimension tool that you typically see, and you can do the dimensions of the diameter or of anything of lines from point to point, whatever you need. You can dimension curves, the holes, you can have dimensions of them as well as the diameter of your circles. To export your object, right-click on Part 1, or whatever your name is, click Export, change the name to whatever you want it to be named, and save it to your downloads. When you are saving your orthographic drawing, you right-click on Part 1, Drawing 1, and click Export the same as you would for your file, and you will have a downloaded picture.